Well, Rosie Kay is a dancer, choreographer, and director of the K2 Dance Company, whose best-known works include controversial political pieces, such as Five Soldiers. Rosie made an effort to keep the arts alive throughout the pandemic by continuing to work on shows. However, at an evening get-together, a dinner party with the cast of one of her shows, which she hosted, Rosie found herself at the center of a conversation about transgenderism. When she was asked to give her beliefs on transgenderism, her reply was that she doesn't believe a person can change their biological sex. Whoa! Bear in mind, she didn't bring up the subject, she was simply asked her views on it. Others at the dinner table, her dinner party, her guests, doubled down on her, and she was told by the company she would be investigated. Following this witch hunt, hounded by the mob, Rosie Kay resigned from her dance company in 2021. Rosie joins me now. Rosie, welcome. Great to see you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, Rosie, you invite people around for dinner and they end up getting you cancelled. This is like East Germany or Mao's Cultural Revolution. How did you react? What was it like?
Well, I think I was in an absolute state of shock, really, because I'd been thinking about, women's rights and what was going on. And I'm kind of used to thinking my own thoughts, doing my own research, really investigating subjects deeply. But like, as you said, I was in my own home. I wasn't stood on a public platform sort of espousing my views or forcing my views on anyone, but I was asking questions. So first of all, I thought that it was a kind of misunderstanding and we'd sort it out because people are perfectly entitled to their own views. I totally believe in free speech. But it seemed like my board and my management also thought that what I'd said was beyond the pale. And so I actually went through 2 separate investigations. And in the end, I lost complete trust with the people around me. And so I resigned, citing constructive dismissal, as in they didn't support my side of the contract in order to do my job, which is to think and make art.
So, Rosie, what happens now? Because we've spoken recently to Winston Marshall from Mumford & Sons, to Zuby, the rapper, obviously J.K. Rowling is another. All these wonderful creative people, yourself included, being cancelled. How do you fight back, Rosie?
Yeah, and I suppose we've started to become a kind of strange club of, it puts together the most interesting people who just can't lie, that believe truth is really important, that have their own sense of integrity, are willing to risk everything to say, no, hang on, the emperor's got no clothes on. I'm not buying this. And it's really important that there are a few of us that are brave enough to stand up and to say no, because actually there's so many people supporting me, too afraid to speak out, with their jobs at risk. So those of us that have had to run the gauntlet of these kind of horrific houndings or cancellations, we have to use this now to speak out more and to support one another and to kind of say to people, we have to stand up against this. This is bullying, this is wrong. This is an ideology that at its extremes is quite damaging to women and to children. So I feel like it's important that, I keep making art. I want to keep making dance. And I'm not going to shy away from these issues. I'm going to keep talking and I'm going to keep looking at this in my art.
So, Rosie, can you use this to fuel your next artistic endeavour?
Yes, I have been quite inspired, actually. It was really amazing. After I resigned, I had this huge burst of creativity because I hadn't realised that I'd been sort of being censored for quite a long time and feeling afraid. And I just thought, right, I'm going to make exactly the kind of art I want to make. So I've got a new tour of 5 soldiers touring the UK next spring, but then I'm already working on a trilogy of work that looks at sex and gender identity, technologies, deep fake, as well as I want to return to Orlando, which is a Virginia Woolf novel, and look also at French literature as well. So yeah, I'm diving deep into it all.
Well, Rosie, we definitely want you to bring that out to Australia because there's so many people would definitely want to see that and want to support you. Now, Margaret Atwood wrote in The Guardian recently, if we don't defend free speech now, that's it. We're heading towards tyranny. So you're kind of right at the pointy bit culturally, historically. We are at a really critical moment. Do you feel that weight on your shoulders?
Well, it's interesting you say that. So I was doing some talks last year with military experts, people that work in secret services and academics and artists. And I was asking why is it the artist that gets kind of picked on first? And they were saying, well, of course it's the artist. You're the difficult ones. You challenge everything. You speak out. And the person that worked in cybersecurity and secret services said, actually, we use this as a way to monitor how healthy a society is. The first people to start to get targeted are the artists. First, they'll get deplatformed, cancelled, lose their livelihood. But quite quickly after that, it can go into much darker territory, imprisonment, torture, or even execution. They said we're just not used to seeing that in democracies. We think of this happening in foreign countries, not in Western democracies. So I think it's vitally important that at this point, artists speak out, speak their truth. You may not like it, you may disagree with me. I don't mind. That's absolutely okay. With freedom of speech also becomes, the freedom to be offended. And we have to be able to stand up for that. A society can only be free if we're able to speak and able to disagree.
And do you think we're starting to get strength in numbers? As I mentioned, J.K. Rowling is obviously, very much has been in the news, and others I mentioned. Do you think we're starting to see a shift, or is it a lonely place you are in?
No, it doesn't feel too lonely. It does feel like there is a big pushback and it's growing. And I think that we're also getting the message through to politicians and, we need to work on lots of levels. There's the kind of people that are ideologically captured, but then there's also the institutions that no longer seem to kind of serve the purpose for which they were set up for. And, it's going to take a lot of challenging. But I do believe, most people are decent and once they understand the issues will want to do the right thing.
Well, Rosie, I've got one last favour to ask you, and please, can you invite me to one of your dinner parties? I want to be there. I want to have it would be fantastic.
I know. I mean, I even made a trilogy of works before, and I used to joke that it was about things that you're not allowed to talk about at dinner parties, because I looked at war, I looked at politics, and I looked at religion. I just stumbled into the one you're really not allowed to talk about at dinner parties.
Fantastic. Rosie Kay, thanks so much for coming on the show this evening. Great, and keep up your strength. It's terrific. And we'll see you in Australia with that whole show. We want to see it out here. Thanks so much.